My name is Anna. I'm from Chicago. And when I was 7 years old, I watched my mother put up a sign outside our home that read, "For children for sale." That day changed my life forever. Today I'm a grown woman with children of my own. But there is a story buried deep in my past that I have never spoken out loud. Until now. It's not easy to tell. It's not pretty or neat or something I can smile about. But it's the truth. And maybe, just maybe, someone out there needs to hear it. Because the scars we carry are not meant to be hidden forever. Before I go on, tell me something. My dears, have you ever been betrayed by someone who was supposed to protect you? Someone who should have been your shield, but instead became the source of your deepest pain? If you have, you will understand my story. I was only 7 years old when I first saw the sign that would haunt me for the rest of my life. It was summer in Chicago, the kind where the heat clings to your skin and the smell of dust rises from the cracked sidewalks. I was sitting on the porch steps with my younger brothers, Tommy and Michael, and my little sister, Rose. We were playing with sticks, drawing crooked houses into the dirt, pretending everything was normal. But nothing in our life was normal. Our father had left months earlier. Some say he ran away with another woman. Others whispered that he had drunk himself to death in some alley. All I know is, one day he was there, and the next he was gone. And with him went the only steady money our family ever had. Mama tried, oh she tried. She scrubbed floors for the neighbors. She mended clothes for pennies. Sometimes she came home with her hands red and raw from washing other people's laundry. But no matter how much she worked, there was never enough. Rent notices piled on the table. The icebox grew emptier by the week. And the landlord's voice grew louder every time he knocked at our door. We were children, but we weren't blind. We saw Mama's dresses hanging looser, her eyes darker, her smiles fading. She stopped singing in the kitchen. She stopped brushing Rose's hair into ribbons. She stopped sitting with us at night. Then, one morning, everything changed. I woke to the sound of hammering outside. I peeked through the torn curtain of our window. And there was Mama, nailing a piece of wood onto a post. Her shoulders hunched, her apron dusty, her face hidden by her hand. I thought maybe it was just another notice from the landlord. But when I stepped onto the porch, I froze. In bold, uneven letters, it read, "Are children for sale? Inquire within." My breath caught in my throat. At 7 years old, I didn't understand fully, but I understood enough. The 4 children were us. I looked at my brothers, at my sister, then back at Mama. "Mama?" My voice was barely a whisper. What does that mean?" She didn't answer. She just turned away. Her hand pressed to her face like she couldn't bear for me to see her eyes. And in that moment, my childhood ended. I know what you're thinking. What kind of mother does that? How could she possibly put a price on her own children? But before you judge her, listen to the whole story. Because sometimes desperation makes monsters out of ordinary people. And sometimes love can twist into something unrecognizable. That week, neighbors started whispering. Some crossed the street instead of walking past our house. Others slowed down just to stare. I wanted to disappear every time I saw their eyes on us. At night, I heard Mama crying in her room. Sometimes I thought I heard her praying too, asking God to forgive her, asking Him to give her another way. But every morning, the sign was still there, planted in the dirt like a curse. And then, the strangers began to come. One by one, they knocked on our door. Some were couples dressed in fine clothes, smelling of perfume. Others were farmers with rough hands and heavy boots. They looked us over like we were animals at a market. I still remember one woman bending down, cupping Rose's chin in her hand, saying, "She's a pretty little thing, strong. We'll take good care of her." I wanted to scream, to claw her hands away. But Mama just stood there, her eyes swollen, her lips trembling. She didn't say yes, but she didn't say no either. And in that silence, I felt my world collapsing. That was only the beginning, my dears. The day my mother put up that sign, she didn't just put a price on our heads. She put a wound in my soul that would never heal. And what happened after changed us forever. Tell me, if you were in Mama's shoes, with no money, no food, and 4 hungry mouths staring at you, would you have done the same? Or would you rather die than give up your children? Share your truth in the comments, because I want to know what you think. The day finally came when Mama stopped crying and started acting. And what she did next, I will never forget. It was a hot afternoon when the farmer came. I remember because the air was thick with the smell of manure and gasoline from his truck. His boots were caked in mud. His shirt rolled at the sleeves, and his wife followed 2 steps behind him, carrying a basket of peaches like it was some kind of offering. They didn't knock politely like the others. They walked straight up to the porch, their eyes sweeping over me and my brothers like hunters looking at prey. Mama met them at the door. She didn't smile. She didn't greet them. She just stepped aside, and for a long moment they stood in our living room, looking around at the bare walls, the broken lamp, the hungry children staring back. The farmer cleared his throat. "This one," he said, pointing at me. "She looks sturdy, strong legs. She can work." I froze. My heart thudded so loud I could hear it in my ears. Mama's eyes flickered to me, just for a second. Then she looked away. "Name your price," the farmer said. And that was it. No hesitation, no protest, no scream of "not my daughter." Just silence, and then a number, whispered through trembling lips. I don't remember the amount. I only remember the sound of coins clinking, the rustle of bills, and the weight of shame pressing on my chest. Before I knew it, the farmer's wife was holding my hand. Not gently, like I was hers already. She pressed a peach into my palm and said, "Come on now, you'll like the country. Lots of fresh air." I turned to Mama. I wanted her to stop them, to snatch me back, to say she'd changed her mind. But she wouldn't look at me. She just stood there with her hand over her mouth, her shoulders shaking. "Please, Mama," I whispered. But my voice disappeared into the air, and then the truck door slammed shut behind me. People talk about heartbreak like it's just a figure of speech. But let me tell you something. At 7 years old, I felt my heart shatter in my chest. It broke in ways I didn't know a child's heart could break. The drive to the farm felt like a funeral. I clutched the peach in my hand until the juice ran sticky down my wrist. The farmer and his wife didn't speak much. They just drove, the road stretching on and on, every mile dragging me farther from the only world I knew. When we reached their farm, the air smelled of hay and sweat. Chickens scattered as the truck pulled in, and a dog barked until the farmer kicked the dirt at it. "This'll be your new home," the wife said flatly, leading me into a small room at the back of the house. A cot, a thin blanket, a wooden chair, nothing else. I sat on the cot, staring at the floor, waiting for Mama to come rushing through the door, saying it was all a mistake. But Mama never came. Life on the farm was no childhood. It was labor. Every morning before the sun rose, I was dragged out of bed and handed chores. Feeding the pigs, hauling water, scrubbing floors until my knees burned. If I slowed down, the farmer's voice boomed like thunder. "Faster, girl! You're eating food here, you better earn it." His wife wasn't cruel, but she wasn't kind either. She kept her distance, giving me just enough to survive. Meals of cornbread and beans, patched up clothes, a roof. But not love, never love. I was no daughter. I was no child. I was property. And every night, as I lay on that thin cot staring at the cracks in the ceiling, I thought of Mama, of Tommy, Michael, and little Rose. Were they still together? Were they safe? Or were strangers tearing them apart too? I wanted to hate her. I wanted to hate Mama for what she had done. But deep inside, all I felt was a hollow ache, because hate means you still care, and caring hurt too much. My dears, that farm became the place where I grew up, where I learned to survive, but also where I lost pieces of myself I never got back. And as the years went by, the truth about Mama's choice and the fate of my brothers and sister came crashing back into my life in ways I could never imagine. Now tell me, if you were in my shoes, taken away at 7 years old, treated as labor instead of a child, would you fight to run back home? Or would you stay and endure it? I want to hear your heart in the comments. My children. The farm became my prison, my battlefield, and my training ground all at once. What was stolen from me as a child shaped me into the woman telling you this story today. The years blurred together like long gray winters. My small hands grew calloused, my back bent before its time. I learned how to carry buckets heavier than my body, how to skin chickens without flinching, how to scrub mud from boots that were never mine. The farmer, Mr. Harris, treated me like property. I wasn't Anna, I was Girl. Girl, fetch the pail. Girl, faster. Girl, don't talk back. His wife, Martha, had a softness hidden under layers of silence. Sometimes she'd slip me an extra piece of bread or hum while she washed the dishes. But she never once called me daughter. I was a stranger in their house, a tool that made their work lighter. At night, when the work was finally done, I'd crawl into my cot with aching muscles, clutching my pillow and whispering the names of my siblings. Tommy, Michael, little Rose. I prayed they were safe. I prayed Mama hadn't sold them all away. But deep down, I knew. I was 12 when I overheard the truth. The farmer had taken me along to town to help carry supplies. While he argued with the blacksmith about a plow, I sneaked behind the feed store, where 2 women were gossiping. Did you hear about those kids? The 4 sold off by their own mama? Yes, Lord have mercy. 1 to the Harrises, 1 to the Millers, another down near Chicago. And the baby girl, Rose, adopted by a family with money. Tragic. But I suppose they're better off than starving. My knees buckled. The sack of feed slipped from my arms and burst open on the dirt. That was the day the fantasy ended. No, Mama hadn't kept the others. No, we weren't together somewhere waiting to reunite. We were scattered like seeds in the wind, traded for survival. And I hated her for it. Oh, I hated Mama with a fire that burned hotter than the August sun. Hate has a way of changing a child. I stopped crying. I stopped begging. I hardened. By 16, I wasn't just a servant. I was clever. I knew how to do the chores faster, how to slip extra food for myself, how to listen at doors and learn what I wasn't supposed to know. Martha grew older and weaker. The farmer grew meaner, and me? I grew colder. Sometimes I looked at the chickens. Their throats cut clean in one stroke, and I thought, mercy is quick. Humans? We drag out suffering. It was 20 years before I saw one of my siblings again. I was 27, working at the local market to earn coins of my own, when a man tapped me on the shoulder. Anna? I turned. His eyes. Those eyes were my father's eyes. It was Michael. No longer a boy, a man, strong, dressed in city clothes. We stood frozen in the crowd, strangers and family all at once. He told me the story. Tommy had died young, pneumonia. Rose had been raised like a princess, but she didn't know the truth. And him? He had clawed his way through foster homes, working odd jobs until a factory took him in. Anna, he said, gripping my hands, we have to see her. We have to tell Rose who she is. And we have to face Mama. It took months to find her. Mama was old now, frail, living with distant relatives. When I saw her, thin, wrinkled, eyes downcast, something inside me twisted. Michael spoke first. How could you, Mama? How could you sell us like cattle? Her lips trembled. Tears slid down her cheeks. I had nothing. No money, no food. I thought if I spread you out, maybe you'd live. Better a hard life than no life at all. I should have softened. I should have pitied her. But instead, bitterness rose like bile. No, Mama, I spat. You didn't save us. You broke us. You made me a slave. You made us strangers. You murdered our childhood. And you stood there while men bought us like animals. Her face crumpled. She sobbed, clutching her chest. But I didn't hold her. I didn't forgive. I turned my back and walked away. And I swear to you, I felt stronger in that moment than I had my whole life. Sometimes forgiveness is weakness. And I refused to be weak anymore. Rose. Sweet little Rose. We found her years later. Beautiful, educated, unaware of the truth. When Michael wanted to tell her, I stopped him. No, I said. She got the best life. She doesn't need our pain. Let her keep her fairy tale. He argued, he begged. But I refused. So Rose never knew me as her sister. She looked me in the eye once at a church gathering, smiled politely, and passed by. To her, I was nobody, and I let it stay that way. Yes, I chose to keep her in the dark. I chose to bury the truth. Call me heartless, call me wicked. But after what Mama did to us, I decided I'd control the ending. Not her, not fate, me. Years later, when Mama died, Michael attended the funeral. I didn't. He sent me a letter. Anna, she asked for your forgiveness with her last breath. I burned the letter. I didn't shed a tear. Because sometimes survival hardens you so much. There's no room left for pity. My dears, that is my confession. I was sold as a child, raised as property, hardened by betrayal. And when the time came, I chose bitterness over forgiveness. Some will call me strong. Others will call me cruel. But I lived, and that was enough. Now let me ask you, if your own mother sold you away, would you forgive her in the end? Or would you turn your back like I did? Be honest. I want to hear your heart in the comments. And if this story gripped you, my friend, don't just scroll away. Hit like, tap subscribe, and turn on the bell. Because more raw confessions and untold truths are coming right here. Share this with someone who needs to understand how deep betrayal can cut. Until next time, remember, not every story ends with forgiveness.